Good morning. I'm Bear with BearIndependent.com. And we're going to do national level intel today, as well as a brief on the Supreme Court of the United States of America, SCOTUS, EPA, and immigration. We're going to move through this as quickly as we can because there's a lot of ground to cover. If you're on Patreon, you will have the very massive brief today, along with pictures and attachments and PDFs. If you're not, you got what you got. There's always a link in the description to Patreon. By the way, it's the beginning of the month. It's the best day of the month to join Patreon. Now, if you're new here on YouTube, or wherever the hell you are over there, if you're new here, you need to go ahead and subscribe. You're going to need this information for what comes ahead. I think the world is going to get far more screwy than it is right now over the next 5 or so years. And I want you to be in a position to be able to navigate this screwy, messed up world so that you can act, not be acted upon. If you're not new here, go ahead and share this out to people that you think need to see it. Okay? Tracking? Tracking like a tack, Bear. All right, let's do the brief. Sounds good, Bear. All right, brief. 1 July 22. Another recent Supreme Court decision may have heavy political and social repercussions. In a 6-3 decision, justices determined that under the Clean Air Act, the EPA, or Environmental Protection Agency, does not have the authority to regulate greenhouse gas emissions from power plants. Oofta. As a guy who spent a long time working in the power construction industry, was born into the power construction industry, that's a big deal. Chief Justice John Roberts maintained that the Obama-era Clean Power Plan was an EPA power grab when something with such great consequence belongs to Congress or an agency clearly given power from Congress. I would agree. Brief pontificating on the first paragraph of the article. Greenhouse gas emissions. We need more electricity. This is just a thing. And so it's good of the Supreme Court to decide that, hey, the EPA shouldn't have jurisdiction over this, to just be able to make de facto laws without congressional oversight. That's good. But really, we're facing an energy crisis in the United States of America, especially if we continue to push renewable energy and electric vehicles. There's nothing green about green energy. There's nothing green about electric vehicles. It's like 94% of the electricity that it takes to run an electric vehicle comes from coal plants currently in the United States of America. Coal is the thing that everybody, all the environmentalists hate in the first place. And so it's a big deal. So greenhouse gas emissions, it has shaped the energy industry rabbit 35 yards, 12 o'clock. You get to live another day, Bun Bun. Squirrel. No, actually, it's a rabbit. But it has shaped the energy industry as long as I've been alive. I've seen ramifications of this, and it's made it harder and harder, and therefore more and more expensive to produce electricity in this country. And the whole idea that we're going to have renewable energy, that renewable energy is going to fix things, negative. Where do you get the steel and the copper and the aluminum to make a wind turbine? To say nothing of the fiberglass blades that do not decompose, that now there's a huge issue. There's boneyards of old fiberglass blades that we have no idea what to do with because they're going to take 1,000 years in a landfill before they even begin to break down. So where does all the steel and aluminum and the copper come from? Smelting. You know how you run a smelting operation? Massive amounts of electricity. You know the carbon offset? For every 1 ton of copper you produce 5.4 tons of CO2 emissions. For every 1 ton of aluminum you produce 10.4 tons of CO2 emissions. What about steel? Yeah, 250-ish tons of steel per tower. The break-even cycle on one of those turbines, somewhere around 38 years. Lifespan, from a carbon offset standpoint. somewhere around 38 years. Lifespan of the turbine, 20 years. Do the math. You've been fleeced. It's all a lie. It's a sham. The number 1, 2, and 3 owners of wind power in the United States of America: ExxonMobil, British Petroleum, and Dutch Shell. They're energy companies, and they're using your taxpayer dollars to fund their divestment from fossil fuels into renewables. So don't buy the propaganda. How do I know? I've seen it myself. I kind of got kicked out of the wind industry because I wouldn't quit writing white papers on how corrupt and messed up it was, and how all the things we were doing were stupid if we were actually trying to offset carbon emissions. It's not about offsetting carbon emissions. It's about offsetting the actual investment that the company has to make out of their own revenue streams and gobbling up taxpayer dollars to diversify. But I digress. Let's get back to the brief. People are already flipping out about air quote extremists destroying women's rights, end quote, after the recent decision, and now the recent decision being Roe v. Wade being overturned. And now this decision is viewed as an incompetent ruling that will destroy the planet. Democratic lawmakers seem horrified that they would have to make laws to enact regulations. Right. Yeah, ruling by fiat. Something that the far left enjoys doing, while claiming that the far right is a bunch of fascists. And for all those that have just absolutely married into a political camp and made it part of your ideology, the left and the right are both two wings of the same shitty bird. Like, get outside of the box. Get off the X. Move. Don't play into that purposely designed schism that allows them to enact the Hegelian dialectic to force you into some type of synthesis of an understanding that still serves their end goals. More Jocko is required. It's relatively early for me. Well, this is actually my first Jocko today. Plus, we have a member of the junior executive team here as well today. So, all right. Senator Elizabeth Warren, Pocahontas. I am, by the way, 256 times more Native American than she is. Tweeted, our planet, quote, our planet is on fire, and this extremist Supreme Court has destroyed now, were they extremists this whole time and nobody was talking about it, or are they just extremists now because they said some things and made some decisions that the political left doesn't like? And this extremist Supreme Court has destroyed the federal government's ability to fight back. No, that's called checks and balances, asshole. This radical Supreme Court is increasingly facing a legitimacy crisis, and hang on to that. Tuck that one back in your ear. That's an ear nugget right there. Legitimacy crisis. The legitimacy crisis of the Supreme Court. More and more people on the political left are talking about this because they want to undermine the authority of the court because they don't agree with it. Now, what's going to be interesting is if they decide to attempt to pack the court, why would you pack a court that has a legitimacy crisis? See, those two narratives don't actually line up with one another. So, but instead they're saying right now, they're like, I don't know if we can trust this court. They seem to be out of control. They seem to be crazy. Yeah, well, so are you, Elizabeth Warren. Our planet is on fire, and this extremist Supreme Court has destroyed the federal government's ability to fight back. This radical Supreme Court is increasingly facing a legitimacy crisis, and we can't let them have the last word, end quote. Or you could kiss my hairy white ass, one or the other. But both sides are pointing the finger at the other. The Republican Senator John Barrasso tweeted, quote, SCOTUS, Supreme Court of the United States, decision today rightfully reins in unreasonable and unlawful attempts to shut down American power plants and energy production. For years, Democrats have used the overreaching EPA regulations to sidestep Congress and the American people to enact their extreme climate agenda. Truth from somebody working inside of that, not inside of the EPA, but inside of companies that were subject to the EPA. That's 100% true. We did one job in Florida, Tampa, Clearwater, St. Pete area, and we were at the Weeden Island Game Preserve. And there were these little tiny fiddler crabs, yay big, millions of them everywhere. And we had a right-of-way, which is a place where you run cables or buried lines or overhead lines and drive trucks down and forth. And the right-of-way was paved with little fiddler crabs because there's cajillions of them. And if you're driving an 80,000-pound truck, you don't brake for the fiddler crab. It just is what it is. So we're out there, we're working, and this guy from the EPA comes up with this clipboard and a pen. Oh, good morning, sir. How are you today? Okay, it's good to see you. Okay. Yes. Looking under the truck, taking notes. Said, hey, can I help you? They said, oh yeah, I'm just counting crabs. Okay, cool. We're trying to pour concrete. Maybe you could get out of the way before you become an OSHA statistic. And long and short, this guy told us that the EPA fine for every crab that was under the truck, we were responsible for each dead crab that was under the truck, was a $10,000 fine per crab. Oh, you mean governmental extortion? So I said to a guy that worked for me named Sammy, I said, hey, Sammy, grab a shovel. And we started pitching shovelfuls of sand underneath the truck. And I said to the guy, I said, I don't see any fiddler crabs. And he said, well, in my notes, I've got 10 that's under your truck. That's $100,000. And I said, I don't see any fiddler crabs. And you need to GTFO my job site. But that's one brief example of the EPA. One, $100,000 in extortion to a private company because there were literally, not exaggerating, millions of dead fiddler crabs up and down this right-of-way and trillions of live fiddler crabs scurrying everywhere else. Survival of the fittest, right? For all you Darwinian assholes out there, if you get run over by the truck, maybe you're not smart enough to reproduce. So that's one example on one day on one job site in one part of the country. And they do this everywhere, all the time. Let's see here. For years, Democrats have used the overreaching EPA regulations to sidestep Congress and the American people to enact their extreme climate agenda. This decision confirms Congress, not the EPA, has the authority to create environmental policy. We will continue working to protect the environment while making American energy as clean, reliable, and affordable as possible. That is wonderful propaganda, Senator John Barrasso. What else has the Supreme Court been up to? In a 5-4 ruling, the justices have allowed Biden to end Trump's, quote, remain in Mexico policy that prevented at least 70,000 asylum seekers from crossing the border. One side of the argument says the policy was incredibly inhumane, prevented people from pursuing their asylum claims in court, and drove them to pursue extremely dangerous ways into the country. The other side of the argument says that striking this policy down will only worsen the crisis at the border. In any case, the Supreme Court determined that the removal of the policy did not violate federal immigration law. Interesting thing. I've been listening to some Peter Zehan lately, and I posted a video up on Patreon yesterday of a 90-minute lecture that he gave, and he talks a lot about demographics. I would submit that if you're overly concerned about, and there's nuance to everything, right? But if you're overly concerned about Mexican immigration into the United States of America, you better start working on your reproductive rates. Because the United States as a whole, our reproductive rates are so low that we cannot perpetuate a large enough demographic of people to both produce and consume the things that we need to make the economy go round and round. That we need Mexicans. We need skilled Mexican labor. Whether it's low-level skills or high-level skills, we need skilled Mexican labor. But Barry, what about all the terrorists coming across the border? Shoot them in the face. But, you know, Maria and Juan, who just want a better life, maybe, maybe not. Are you saying you're for illegal immigration? No, I'm for legal immigration. That would be great, but that entire policy and that entire process has been busted. But if you look strictly at the demographics, and I know right now you're not very happy because Bear's saying things that maybe you don't like, and that's okay. That's my job, is to disabuse you of all your fantasies. if you look at the demographics, the United States cannot self-sustain. We start falling off the map by 2045. So we need more people. So if you have an issue with those people coming here and being part of our people, then you need to make more people. Like, be fruitful and multiply. It's the first command. We good? Yeah, we're good, T. All right, cool. Additional intel from the Bear Nation. Let's take a 30-second punch cigar break. Say hi to all the people in the chat, on the YouTubes. How we doing over there with the spyware?
Good.
We're doing good on the spyware? That's good.
You do have quite a few Bear Nation people in there.
That's good. It's interesting to me. Hey, what's up, the Iridium Group? What's up, Snowbird? The world may be screwy, but at least there's still coffee. Amen to that. If you're not stacking coffee for the end of the world, listen, a life should be worth living, okay? And life without coffee, is that really a life at all? Moose Run Coffee, our new friends at Moose Run Coffee. I don't make $1 by telling you that they're an awesome Torah observant young family with young children that just relocated because they felt the calling of the Most High. But if that resonates with you and you like drinking coffee, Moose Run Coffee, go check them out. And it's legitimately good coffee. Pretty much everybody in the camp has gotten like super hooked.
I just finished a bag this morning
Just
and got
finished
super
the bag
sad.
this morning.
I was like, no.
Well, and they are working on putting green beans in buckets with a roaster. So your SHTF coffee bucket, I'm like, hell yes. When you guys have that figured out, you let me know. And then you let me know how many of those you can produce. Because whatever it is, we can make them disappear. Between Bear Camp and the Bear Nation, dude, think about that. 20 pounds of green beans, green coffee beans, and a roaster and a grinder in a bucket stored up, ready to go indefinitely for when the North Koreans put warheads on foreheads. I'm like, hell yeah, that's awesome. Nice, Melkor ordered 3 more Bear Facts this week, trying out to outfit all vehicles. Nice. The Bear Nation likes the idea of the coffee bucket. Hey, we'll work on that. We'll get with the mooses and make it happen. So, whenever we go to the feed store sells flats of the big cans of coffee, 6 to a flat, weekly. Get 6 of them, and just keep stacking them. Somebody asked me the other day, they're like, "How many do you have?" I was like, "I don't know, but it's not enough." They're like, "You really need more coffee?" I'm like, I'm gonna use it. It's not like,
what's the shelf life on it? Like, it's gotta be
forever and a day.
Yeah.
Who cares? It'll be okay. And like, oh no, the coffee's a little stale in this nuclear holocaust we live in now. Like, you know, you pick and choose your battles. All right. What do you say, junior executive team? Should we do the national level intel?
Go for it.
Go for it. We have approval from Liberty. Liberty, 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 liberty. All right. 1JUL22 national level intel from the Bear Nation for the Bear Nation. Okay? This is all from y'all. Yes, a hand grinder, BMG Kate. This is all from y'all. Intel at bearindependent.com. If you have intel you would like to share with us, it is intel at bearindependent.com. And also, again, if you're new here, go ahead and subscribe, ring the little bell icon. If you're not new here, share this out with people who need to see it, all right? Okay, Bear. Thanks, guys. No problem, Bear. Intel at bearindependent.com is where you send your intel. It's not, you need to watch this link, you need to read this article, blah, blah, blah. It is stuff you have seen with your own eyeballs or heard with your own ears. And if you're on Patreon, there's like 20 images today that were sent to us by the Bear Nation. 7 of which or so is a grocery store reorder form for product. And let me just tell you, I don't know how many hundreds of those products say unavailable from vendor. And they're all name brand products you've heard of that you would probably miss on the shelves at your grocery store. And they are unavailable from vendor. All right, medical. National level intel. Quote, I work as a traveling nurse, so I get to see different areas of the country. I can assure you that supply shortages are real. The hospital I am currently at in North Carolina is having a shortage of lidocaine. That's a national level shortage of lidocaine. Thank you all for the super chats, by the way. In fact, epidurals, they've reduced by half the amount of lidocaine they're using in an epidural now. So you're not completely numb, it just knocks the edge off. So getting back to that first command, we have a birthing bucket at refugemedical.com. You might want to think about that. Because think about it, a lot of the benefits of participating in society are going away, right? Why would you continue to participate in this jacked up, effed up society if the benefits are going away? You're still paying taxes. I still pay taxes, but I get to live out here with people that I love and do things that I want to do that are meaningful and purposeful rather than be a cog in somebody else's machine, right? Providers have been told to conserve how much lidocaine they use on each patient as it is in very short supply. 6 months ago, I was at a facility that ran out of pre-filled 10 millimeter normal saline flushes, and they were down to 3 sets of defibrillator pads in the entire hospital. We were trying to dig out the old style paddles for the defibrillators in the event that we ran out. Tell you guys every day, refugemedical.com, your promo code's BearNation. If I tell you it's in stock, go get it, because it may not be there tomorrow. By the way, right now, you can use promo code FREEDOM100 for $100 off the mini stomp bag or the MAC 4 mass casualty kit, MAC 4, and promo code FREEDOM200 for $200 off of a stomp bag, which is a hospital on your back. It is a better supplied hospital on your back than the hospital this lady works at. Okay, $200 off of a stomp bag or a MAC 8, mass casualty kit, 8 for 8 to 16 trauma casualties. Okay, and that's Liberty has splashed that everywhere, including the front page of the website. So if you forget those codes, you can just go to refugemedical.com. I am a frontline medic in a progressive rural EMS agency in northeastern Kansas. Nothing, and I mean nothing like this has ever been seen before by both management and us grunts alike. Where do I begin? First, we as an agency are lacking in one of the most important medications possible, epinephrine. Huge in pre-hospital care. From basic ACLS to allergic reactions, we have to use what we have so sparingly that we've even had to been cleared by our medical director to use drugs that have been up to 6 months expired. Everything from epinephrine to lidocaine to dextrose to Versed, we are running out and being told by manufacturers and distributors alike that they are filling orders as fast as they can, but to expect delays of unknown lengths. I know that drugs are typically fine for a while past the post date on the box, but it is terrifying that it has come to this point. Trauma supplies are no different. refugemedical.com. And if I tell you it's in stock, it means it's under my roof. Trauma supplies are no different. Just last week, our ambulances were so close to running out of gauze pads, we had to take a county purchasing card and go buy from the local Walmart just to have sterile gauze pads on our truck. While some items are still there, they are drying up very quickly, especially now that trauma season is upon us. Trauma season is upon us. Summer, people drive. Statistically, the most dangerous thing you do is drive. Statistically, 90% of preventable deaths in the United States of America are from uncontrolled bleeding. So, what that means is if you are currently breathing, and there's blood inside of your body, you need a trauma first aid kit. Oh, and by the way, 46 lives saved to date. 46. We're up to 46 lives saved by Refuge Medical. So, yeah, is there a better kit? No. If you can find it, I'll buy it from you. They don't exist. While some items are still here or there, they are drying up very quickly, especially now that trauma season is upon us. Our battalion chief, who is in charge of supplies and equipment, even made the statement that he is, quote, terrified of the imminent future, end quote. We have just recently been given a new policy titled EMS Response to Civil Unrest. Ladies and gentlemen, shall we repeat that again? Thank you for all the super chats, by the way. I appreciate them. Y'all are awesome. Bonnie Moore, thank you. Fingers don't work. Can't. Matthew Stone, thank you. We've recently been given a new policy titled EMS Response to Civil Unrest, and our battalion chief is, quote, terrified of the imminent future.
Oof.
Oofta. Sounds like a strategic relocation is in order. Sounds like it might make sense to have a couple of womb buckets in the closet and some good friends and some backyard chickens and maybe some row crops. Food. Quote, I won't pretend to tell you that the food supply is nothing to worry about from an international perspective or even from a domestic processing perspective. But I will say, as an employee of the U.S. who interfaces directly with farmers and ranchers, acres are being reported as normal, with the deadline in the northern Oklahoma approaching to mid-July. This year's wheat harvest here in Oklahoma was lackluster as far as I can tell. Average yields were lower than usual due to untimely precipitation. That's true. It poured rain in the late spring and then hasn't rained since. So that's kind of a thing. Average yields were lower than usual due to untimely precipitation. That will have adverse effects on the market due to foreign production disruption in Russia and Ukraine. While not perfect, the U.S. model of agricultural production is most definitely the most superior worldwide. Asterisk, it's highly dependent upon foreign inputs. That's the issue, I believe. And we're going to see mechanical failures in the processing chain of the supply chain portion because we've offshored our production and our maintenance capability for heavy equipment like tractors to other places, mostly in Southeast Asia. So as things break down, as if you own a farm, a ranch, or a homestead, something's always broken. My truck was broken yesterday. Something's always broken. And it's not a big deal if you can get a new radiator for the truck in an afternoon. Praise the Most High. But it is a big deal if you're waiting 4 to 6 months for tractor parts and you're therefore not processing your harvest. Okay? Thank you, big chap. While not perfect, the U.S. model of agricultural production is definitely the most superior in the world. We are expecting a situation that is being tested from multiple directions. It takes time to adjust factors including fuel and input prices, inflation, adverse climate hurdles, and mass foreign market disruption. I 100% believe we will get through this intact. Agricultural people in Oklahoma, which is the perspective you're coming from, I agree. Urban people in LA, Dallas, Chicago, Houston, Miami, New York City, DC area, and your second tier cities, third tier cities, urban and suburban people everywhere. I don't know. I honestly don't know. Rural people in Oklahoma, yeah. I 100% believe we will get through this intact. I also 100% encourage everyone who has a piece of ground to use it to grow something. Amen. I agree with that. I 100% encourage everyone who has a piece of ground to use it to grow something you can eat. It is not only rewarding to consume something you have grown, but it will take the stress off the system as a whole. We've been talking about that for 3 years. They called them Liberty Gardens back in the day. Yep, Liberty Gardens during World War II, explicitly. The populace was encouraged to plant Liberty Gardens so that and have their own backyard chickens. Half a dozen chickens and a small plot of land tilled up for vegetables. And that took a lot of pressure off of the commercial producers who were sending war to our boys over there across the seas, fighting those bad fascists, right? Like the Greatest Generation, those hardcore mamma jammas that were over there just, putting 30-06 in the bad guys' foreheads. Yeah. But there's only so much production capability. There's only so much supply to meet an ever-increasing demand. And so you can offset that supply issue by producing your own in your backyard. And it's not that hard. Victory Garden. Thank you, Glenn. Whatever. Liberty, victory, freedom. Happy 4th of July. All right. Independence Day. Which is something I could pontificate on for an hour. But my question to you is this. We broke away from the British system of tyranny predominantly because of a lack of ability to worship as we saw fit. And then it became an issue of taxation without representation. I would do even a quick bit of soul searching today and ask yourself, where do I stand within this system today? Do I have the same grievances that our founding fathers did when it came to breaking away from the British Empire in the 1770s? How independent am I on Independence Day? How free am I on Independence Day? And if you don't like the answers that you come up with to those questions, you better get your ass in gear while you still can, because the window of opportunity to become self-reliant is closing quickly. Okay? Back to the extra intel. Liberty should be throwing things at me right now saying, shut up, Bear, stop pontificating, read the brief, you got other things to do today, and we can't have an hour-long video. All right, roger that. Sorry, Liberty. Additionally, it takes power. Okay, let me go back. I also 100% encourage everyone who has a piece of ground to use it to grow something you can eat. It is not only rewarding to consume something you have grown, but it will take stress off the system as a whole. Additionally, it takes power from large multinational corporations who don't have our best interests at heart. We need to think of this as a modern victory garden movement. I agree completely with that. Completely. And you should be doing that right now. Next, I work for a small grocery store chain, and like everyone else, we were having trouble finding products to fill our shelves. A few days ago, me and the receiving supervisor were going over the store's order for the day, and I was surprised to see 7 pages of outs. Those would be the 7 pages I posted on Patreon. 7 pages of outs. We made an order for 1,200 individual types of items and got 600 and change. Months ago, we were just given substitutes for our products. Now they are unavailable from the manufacturer with no lead times given to when they would be sent. Also, China is the #1 world exporter of what? Rice. Beans and rice, rice and beans. Beans come from where? Well, they come from a lot of places, but a lot of those places right now are pouring those beans into agricultural feed. Livestock feed, not human feed. The window of opportunity is closing. China's not exporting white rice. For the first time that I can remember, China's not exporting rice. India is not exporting wheat. Russia's not exporting wheat. Ukraine's not exporting wheat. South America's not exporting corn. If you're not stacking it right now, today's paycheck, I'm going to go get a little bit more food to be able to weather this storm. You're doing this preparedness thing wrong. The window of opportunity is closing. Good job, CB. Security from an anonymous officer in Seattle. Last week, I noticed a massive amount of water and food that had been stockpiled at one of our facilities, consisting of 55-gallon drums of water, cases of MREs. The water barrels were 4 high, 20 wide, and 10 deep. So 4 by 20 is 80, by 10 is 800. 800 times 55, so that's 440,000 gallons of water. Yeah, I got a calculator for a brain. Drink more Jocko. I can't talk, but the calculator part still works. The cases of MREs look to be about 7 pallet loads. It's 56 to a case. 7 pallets, 12 meals each. I asked what it was for, and I was told it was preparation for more potential riots. This makes sense, as the last time we had civil unrest, we had to build a concrete wall out of Jersey barriers around our precinct and top it with razor wire. There were multiple, or move. Please, I know you're a member of the Bear Nation, otherwise we wouldn't have this intel, but gosh dang, man. Come to Oklahoma. We could use one more good officer. And I promise you, You won't have to use Jersey barriers as ballistic barriers because of riots. You might have a cow that gets out, okay? We had to use Jersey barriers around our precinct and top it with razor wire. There were multiple instances where we were stuck inside of our precinct like it was the Alamo for days on end. The one thing that doesn't make sense, though, is the water. If we are preparing for more civil unrest, why are we stockpiling water? Is there an expectation that it'll stop running? Yes. Disruption in services, and also the PET, which is the stuff they make these out of, right here, is becoming harder and harder to get. And specifically, these 16.9 ounce or 500 milliliter bottles, the manufacturer of these bottles is running into supply chain issues and can't make these fast enough to keep up with demand. So these half-liter water bottles are going to start going away. Now, if you're like us and you buy things by the pallet, we have several pallets of these. But the 1 gallon and 5 gallon bottled water, those production lines are still working. But these 500 milliliter or half-liter bottles are becoming more and more scarce. So that's something to be aware of. Also, disruption in services. It's entire. How do I say this without sounding like an a-hole? Nice precinct, bro. Do you enjoy electrons? I can shut the electrons down to your precinct, me and a buddy, in under 15 minutes and never expose ourselves. And that's old school, low tech, to say nothing of smart meters now and 5th generation asymmetric digital warfare. So, and not only can I turn the power off to your precinct, I can break the power going to your precinct. And in an actual 4th generation warfare insurgency, where let's say I have an issue with your legitimacy of your precinct, I break the power going to your precinct that you're now holed up inside of, like the Alamo, and you're stuck there with no electrons. And I would probably also break the power going to the water plant and the water treatment plant, which means now you have no water, no commo, no intel, no sewage, no logistics, no fuel, because I broke all the power. And then, when the power company comes out to start fixing it, you have a sniper in the bushes. And now, the next time they come to fix the power lines, they got to bring 14 sheriff's deputies with them to fix the power lines. Or they don't come at all. And now I'm chipping away at the legitimacy of your governing authorities with very little resources. Just a little tiny bit of resources and a little bit of planning. So that's why there's water in your precinct, because we have this illusion of stability and comfort and security, and it's fragile AF. A handful of moderately trained, moderately skilled, highly motivated individuals can break a county. Give me 12 hours. Give me 12 hours. I'll break this county. I don't want to. I love my county. I love our county. I love the people in our county. I love our sheriff's department. I love everything about it. But you have to know how the bad guys do what bad guys do, so you can be vigilant, so that they don't get to do it, right? So, let's see. There were multiple instances where we were stuck inside the precinct like it was the Alamo for days. There's one thing that doesn't make sense, though. It's the water. If we're preparing for more civil unrest, why are we stockpiling water? Is there an expectation that it'll stop running? Yes. In addition to this, we just had contractors working around the clock to install 2 massive generators on the roof of our facility. Okay, hopefully you have the high ground, because otherwise from the roof I can see your generator. And if I can see it, I can hit it. Complete with its own fuel tanks. Normally, city workers are pretty relaxed about their schedules. The guys installing these systems were working around the clock. I find it all pretty unnerving. Yes, because you live in a place where your population density equation sucks, and you shouldn't live there. Sam White said, love the place you live or move. Exactly. Next, from a North Carolina cop, I've been in this profession for 15 years now. Officer-involved shootings used to be regional, and no rioting is seen today. Facts were allowed to be presented before reacting or overreacting. The issue is now cops are being targeted individually as well as their families. Recently, our ambulance service medic had outstanding wait times due to being overwhelmed with calls. In my career, I have never seen an accident with injuries without an ambulance showing up. The other day, an ambulance was canceled as one driver whose back was injured got out of the car and got a ride to the hospital in complete pain with a family member due to the ambulance taking over 20 minutes. Just talking about this yesterday during a training exercise. You are the first responder, and if you're not properly equipped and properly trained to be the first responder, as Rome burns around you, then what's going to happen? Then what's going to happen? People you love are going to become injured and they could die. What are you going to do about that? 46 lives saved to date, refugemedical.com. Thousands of people trained, refugetraining.com. Free stop the bleed content here on this channel. Bear Independent YouTube. Free. Intro to TCCC and Stop the Bleed. Massive hemorrhage via tourniquet, massive hemorrhage via wound packing, airway and respiratory. The next one that's up is circulation. They're every Tuesday evening, 7 p.m. Central. Tune in, check them out, and quit asking me if I'm ever going to do online training, because there it is. And now take your ass to class at refugetraining.com so that we can teach you with our hands, so that you have the automaticity, the muscle memory to be able to do it with your hands under stress when it matters. They're not coming to save you. What's up, Perma Pastor? Shalom, brother. Billy Bond, that's a good brother right there. Good dude. They're not coming to save you. They're not coming to enslave you. They're not coming. 30 seconds out. Got a sticker from them up on my fridge. And that sticker says, and I love it, no one is coming. It's up to us. I live that. I'm gonna start wearing that sticker on my forehead. No one is coming. It's up to us. Get that through your thick skulls. No one is coming. It's up to us. There are other stories where ambulances have taken over an hour. Also, the number of mental health calls I've been sent to has grown exponentially, and I'm not looking forward to it when the meds run out, as I'm sure it's going to be a shit show. Every department across the nation is short, and the list of qualified candidates is growing shorter and shorter. Eventually, standards will be lowered or overlooked despite red flags in the candidate's background. There's already one of 14 districts that is so short of staffing, went to 12-hour shifts from the standard 8 or 10-hour shift. Whole shifts are resigning over internal politics and are going to smaller departments for less pay. I can't blame them. Until Yahweh or Elohim tells me to leave, I'll stay my post. I copy that, man. So if the Father hasn't told you to go yet, don't go. Comma, that doesn't mean right now, while you're still there, that you shouldn't be preparing, putting stuff in boxes and organizing your bins and getting rid of all your trash and selling your excess garbage to people that are still materialistic and want to buy your big screen TV and your snow boots and your whatever, right? Doesn't mean you shouldn't be working towards jump time for when it's jump time. The rule of the 7 Ps, proper previous planning prevents piss poor performance. I'm a medic at an Air Force base in Oklahoma. Oh, I wonder where that could be. The B52 and B1 bombers. Oh, I wonder where that could be. You might as well have just said what base you're at, bro. I'm a medic at an Air Force base in Oklahoma. The B-52s and B-1 bombers are going out on test flights like I've never seen before. Confirmed. In the past, it might be a few times a month they go out. Recently, the bombers are doing 3 to 4 test flights in the same day. Uh-huh. Strategic bombers. War in Eastern Europe. Forward deploying tens of thousands of U.S. troops in our partner nations, host nations in Eastern Europe. NATO saying they want to go from 30,000 to 300,000 troops for their QRFs, their quick reaction forces. I can't spoon feed you indicators more hardly. Like It would be like shoving a fire hose down your face and turning it on if I was trying to spoon feed you more indicators. Another one says, regarding the Rochester, New York Police Department, general information, violent crime, and rape kits have evidence processing working overtime. 4 to 5-fold increase in general violent crime. Rochester PD riding 2 badge cars due to gas prices and unavailability of repair parts for 2 months going on 3. Rome is burning. The system is collapsing. GTFO, the system. And instead of operating in fear, build a new one with a smile on your face. Make a new one. Any of y'all ever played with Legos? I did. I played with Legos growing up. You get the box of bricks, right? You open it up, you dump all the little plastic bags out, and you pull out the instructions. And then you build the thing they told you to make. And that's enjoyable for like 15 minutes. And then you smash it all apart and you take the same bricks and you build whatever the hell you want. Okay? Doesn't mean you didn't learn from the instructions how to use these pieces and parts. They're the same pieces and parts, but you have to deconstruct them so that you can put them back together to make the thing that you want to make. It's that. It's that. But writ large on your entire life. And so many of you are operating in fear because you don't know the Father and you don't trust the Father. You don't believe that he means it when he says his word will not return to him void. That he loves you and that he will protect you and that he will provide for you and that he will bless you. So you don't make the moves that you need to make. Your window of opportunity is closing to make those moves. This system is failing. And that's okay. Historically speaking, all empires fail. The American empire is failing. We're 243 years into a 250-year empiric life cycle. What does that mean? We have 7-ish years left before the complete and utter and total collapse of the United States empire without accelerators, without the war in Ukraine, without China, without global supply chain issues, without another pandemic, without any of that, without tyranny, without the collapse of globalization. We have 7 years left. Well, here's the thing. Empires fail all the time. The Roman Empire is gone. They're still Romans. The British Empire, thing of the history books. There's still people in Great Britain. And you know what? By and large, they're doing okay. So, the American Empire, at least phase 1 of the American Empire, we're at the end of the life cycle. Cool. Onboard that, adjust your OODA loop, and build your own micro empire where you are. That's the whole reason man was created in the first place. Read Genesis chapter 2, to rule and subdue, to work the garden and guard it. Work the garden and guard it. That implies you have a garden. That implies you know how to work it. That implies you know how to guard it. You might want to start doing that shit while you still can. Back to Rochester PD. Individual officers can't choose which calls they will respond to. Politicians from the governor on down to the mayor have dictated to the police chief what to enforce and what not to. Mayor instructed police chief in regard to protesters, the department is disallowed the use of pepper spray, pepper balls, batons, flex cuffs, handcuffs, LRAD, beanbags, canines, or set up barricades. No less lethal force and the use of less lethal force will only be allowed if lethal force is used against them. Basically, they just have to stand there and take it. So the word is, they're just not going to show up. You will see very few officers, if any, at all. My neighbor is a pilot trainer at Naval Air Station CC. They've recently gone to a 24/7 training schedule, up from a standard 12/5. Guys, indicators. We're going to have a hot war. There's going to be rationing by Q3 of this year on certain food products. You can't get parts for your vehicles. And heavy equipment is where it's really going to get crazy. Inflation is going to continue. There's going to continue to be an escalation of fuel costs. There will be increased scarcity. This is going to lead to civil unrest because people are going to behave badly because they're dependent on the system. How many years do you want me to scream this to you from the iPhone? What do you think, Liberty?
Someone said start the good news.
The good news, you're fearfully and wonderfully created by a loving creator who has you right now in the palm of his hand. And if you would just get outside of yourself and your own ego and your own hubris and submit to him, he will make sure you never go without. But you have to die to yourself daily in order to be in a position for that. That's the good news. The good news is we win in the end. And the good news is people find their sense of purpose through hardship. And we're about to get a metric shit ton of hardship. So you can self-select out. You can decide to not play at all, or you can play your own game. We're playing our own game. I work as a defense contractor at Redacted, and we assist the U.S. government with networks and geospatial solutions, maps and computers. We were just advised of a level 7A incident on our Microsoft Azure environment, including the U.S. government and locations throughout Virginia. Yeah, Microsoft has been deeply penetrated by bad actors. We'll put it that way. Good answer, Chris Haynes. All right, we're going to do this quickly. Less pontificating. Rome burning and supply chain issues. A local primary aluminum smelter here in my AO of Kentucky announced today a layoff of 628 employees, completely shutting down for 9 to 12 months. You do not restart an aluminum smelting process from scratch. Cited due to soaring energy and Putin. This will affect many industries, possibly causing shortages. They provide metal for the neighboring electrical cable manufacturing that makes power lines and high purity aluminum for aerospace and defense industries. Once you shut that furnace down, restarting it, it's not an overnight thing. I worked for a copper mining company. During several high-level meetings, analysts were saying that the price of copper could shoot up north of $6 a pound by the end of the year. As of this writing, it's just under $4 a pound, and there isn't currently a shortage that I've seen. This means that they are planning for some crazy increases in demand, even with recession fears and the housing market slowing down. This isn't normal in metal markets, especially with the prices of copper. One could conclude that there will be a large push for procurement of potential large-scale war. You think? Generally speaking, when there's a recession, fear and slowing in the construction price of copper drops, and our analysts begin to prepare for such. "18 years as a field operations manager for one of our nation's railroads. We are having serious issues with finding parts for our locomotives, causing them to sit because they no longer comply with the Federal Railroad Administration requirements. There are discussions of placing surcharges on rail cars to offset the price of fuel. It has been long said that the railroads are a 6-month window on what is coming as far as the economy. Total U.S. rail traffic has fallen 3.5% compared to last year, with intermodal falling 6.3%. To put that into perspective, one rail car is roughly 4 trucks, and year-to-date total rail traffic, 11,878,984 cars, like rail cars. So that's about 50 million truckloads. Next, I'm a foreman at a large line clearance tree company in Ohio. About a month ago, my 2021 Ford F-750 bucket truck lost all of its lights. After further diagnosis, the body control module went out. The local Ford dealership says it's a 30-minute fix, but they can't get the part. Mine isn't the only truck in our yard with problems. Production has slowed greatly. If we can't effectively trim trees, it could result in more outages. He's 100% correct on that. That's why line clearance does their job. What would I do if that was my company? I would get 2 30-ton lowboys and 2 semis, and I would put my 2 bucket trucks that don't have lights on them on the semis, and I would drive them to the right-of-way. And in the right-of-way, I don't need turn signals and headlights. Does that add cost? Significantly. Is it a workaround? Yes, that's what I would do. In the last 4 months, we've experienced near shortage levels of well bore casing, along with dumb iron, meaning drill pipe and whatever else. Back to casing. If you can't case the hole, you can't drill the hole, which means you can't produce the well. Let's go further. No jobs for company men, rig crew, rig movers, fracking crews, wireline crews, directional teams, well planers, and engineers, mud engineers, casing crews, any form of trucking associated with the needs of the oil industry. No sales for bits, tubular, no mags, monols, UBOs, pony subs, crossover subs, replacement drill pipe, perforation crews, etc. Oh wait, if we are not drilling for new wells, then eventually crude will not be going into the refineries. So, massive, massive shortages in gas and diesel fuels. One trucker received a message from the company's safety department that read in part, Oregon fuel costs are way up. Supply has become extremely tight in Portland, Oregon. Olympic Pipeline has been experiencing some delays, which has impacted the whole market. Next, I work for one of the largest natural gas transmission companies in the extreme southeast, and we, like everybody, have been seeing some troubling indicators. This is our heavy run season, so loads are always high, but we've been delivering almost 20 to 25% over contract for almost 3 weeks now. Despite this, we have compressor stations that have been experiencing problems getting reliable commercial power from the grid, from the same company we supply gas to. It has caused an increase in station generator usage because our equipment does not like the erratic power hiccups. One of our newly acquired compressor stations in Mississippi has been running exclusively on generator power for weeks now due to being unable to find a replacement transformer after the main transformer for their commercial power failed. Yup. Industrial electrical components like transmitters, solenoids, and actuators, including stainless steel parts like valves, have increasingly long lead times. Most are a minimum of 8 weeks, some as long as 15 to 20 weeks. Basic components like terminal blocks, fuses, and shunt trip breakers are showing up out of stock more frequently, with restock estimates months away. Next, I work at a local county jail in central Kentucky. As supply chain goes, it's starting to affect government agencies as well. We are not a large agency and are starting to notice that because of our orders are not big enough, we're getting pushed to the back. We're giving leftovers. Refuge Medical is in the top three national purchasers of North American Rescue, which North American Rescue is doing everything they can to get us our product. I'm not bitching about them, but we're in the top 3. We're not the little guy. And every day we're like, we need our stuff. We need our stuff. We need our stuff. And every day we're like, we know, we're trying to get it to you. We're going to get it to you. We're going to get it every day. And so we went from being one of the little guys, the smallest guys possible, to one of the largest. Praise the Most High in 2.5 years. It's badass, right? So the American dream right there. And we're still like, and it's not just North American Rescue, it's TACMed Solutions, it's SAM, it's Medline, pick a vendor. Like, it's everybody. So I can't imagine what it's like being the little guy right now, right? Like, we order stuff by the pallet. What happens if you only need 3 of them? This is starting to affect multiple departments, such as both our kitchen and our canteen. Between budget and supplies, our kitchen does not have the surplus stock in the warehouse that it has had for roughly the last 10 years that I've been here. We have run our own canteen sales for 15 plus years, but we are now having to contract out because we can't keep stock. We also ordered a new transport van 11 months ago, and we were given an 11-month waiting timeline. The van still has not come, and we have no ETA. Getting gear is becoming harder, be it duty ammo, taser batteries and cartridges, uniforms, etc. Next, I walked into a car dealership, as I know a salesperson there who sells a lot of cars, about 50 plus cars a month, and she said to me that things were shocking. She said that we usually have like 400 cars on the lot. Today we have 9, and the sister company next door, they have 12, and they should have 600. I work for a trucking company in the oil fields of North Dakota. Our diesel fuel supplier just sent us a message today that they may, note the word may only be able to fill up our fuel tanks in the yard 1 time next month. They had to fill our fuel tanks 3 times this month for the amount of trucking the company did. So if the trucks that move the crude oil to even make the diesel can't move, yikes.
It's like Domino's.
International. 2 more bits and then we're done. International. Translation from Spanish. Costa Rica approves entry of U.S. combat ship to the port of Punta Arenas. The Legislative Assembly of Costa Rica approved a legislative agreement that allows the entry of the United States Navy troops to the port of Punta Arenas. In addition, it allows the permanence of the ship USS Wichita, the LCS-13, one of the most powerful ships in the combats of the North American country. File 23151 indicates that the docking and stay in port and disembarkation of the crew of the Navy ship, the United States of America USS Wichita, is authorized in the port of Punta Arenas between the days 26 to 29 June 2022. The announcement comes a few hours after national and international media reported that the Sandinista dictatorship in Nicaragua authorized the entry of the Russian army into country for alleged humanitarian purposes. I can see this port from my yard. Russia sent ships to South America. U.S. sent ships to South America. Is what that says in a nutshell. And lastly, I work in the oil and gas sector in Alberta, Canada, and for a company that builds piping modules for oil sand facilities and pipelines. Recently, we've had major problem getting valves of any kind. This ranges from massive 16-inch diameter gate valves to tiny half-inch diameter globe valves. This has slowed production of those vital facilities substantially. Valves that were ordered in October of 21 finally showed up May of 22. An entire sea can of valves was lost in the port of Vancouver as well. There is no relief in sight to the shortages. They continue to get worse. Now, if you are one of those people that jumps off when it's time to talk about how to support the show, this is your opportunity to beat feet, skedaddle, get out of here. Have a blessed day. Shalom. Disembark. The Bear Nation voyage. Get out of here. Patreon. Patreon.com. There's always a link in the description. Look for Bear Independent. It's the best $5 per month you can spend on the internet. All of the really good stuff is on Patreon. If you like this, Patreon's even better than this. Okay. Additionally, there's like 2,500 videos on Patreon. So it's not an I love me, you should love me too page. There's actual content, actual value over there. In fact, this morning we were talking about unit cohesion and esprit de corps for mutual assistance groups on Patreon. So check that out. There's a link in the description, and it's the beginning of the month. It's the best day of the month to join Patreon to spend your $5. That's like a venti caramel macchiato from Starbucks or a can of Skull for a month's worth of life-saving content. You know, you can continue to whore in Babylon, or you could get some knowledge. Up to you. Next, we talked about Refuge Medical quite a bit in today's brief. A reminder, Bear Nation gets you free shipping on everything in the store. Bear Nation gets you free shipping on everything in the store. If it says it's in stock on the website, that means we have it under our roof, and we will ship it to you quick. Not we're hoping that it will show up and we'll ship it to you when it gets to us. No, it means we can physically put our hands on it, okay? Promo code FREEDOM100 gets you $100 off the mini stomp bag and the Mac 4. And promo code FREEDOM200 gets you $200 off the stomp bag and the Mac 8, Mass Casualty Kit 8. RefugeTraining.com. If you haven't come to class, you don't know what you don't know. RefugeTraining.com. Come to class. There's some classes remaining openings in Dallas and in Waco. Tell City, Indiana, sold out like super quick. There will be some new dates coming in some new regions in the coming weeks, so stay tuned for that, refugetraining.com. But if you're anywhere near Dallas and or Waco, come to class, come see us there. And I think there's still a couple of spots left in Philadelphia, so come to Philly. Yes, Sam, you do need to get yourself to class. I agree. Lastly, grindstoneministries.com. If you would like to join with us in our efforts to rescue and rehabilitate juvenile human trafficking survivors, come see us at grindstoneministries.com. We've got an upcoming construction project in partnership with another ministry that we'll be doing in the month of August. We have site work going on right now at Caleb House, which is our restoration facility, and we begin construction in earnest after September of this year. So all that takes lots of prayer, lots of time, lots of effort, money, and provision and protection and blessing from the Most High. And so if you'd like to assist with that, you'd like to be part of all that that's going on, visit grindstoneministries.com. With that, I wish you a happy Sabbath. Remember, the store shuts at sundown, so don't be a lollygagger. Get your shit before the sun goes down. Y'all have a blessed day. Shalom.